Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. I'm Kyle Bryant. And I'm Sean Bombsark. Together, we are constantly seeking opportunities to live beyond our circumstances. What's up? Welcome back to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. My name is Sean. And unfortunately, I'm here with Kyle.
What's up, everybody?
What's going on, man?
I'm preparing for the New Year's, or for Christmas, really, I guess. I'm going home on Friday. So this episode won't come out till New Year's Eve. Holy cow. But
so you're already home.
Yeah, so at this very moment that people are hearing it, yeah. So,
Nice.
So yeah, I'm excited. My mom told me the other day, she's taking care of my brother's kids, my niece and nephew. And she goes to my nephew who's 4 and goes, "Hey, Keller, I got a surprise for you in the car." And he goes, "Is it Uncle Kyle?"
Aww.
And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
That's special.
They're thinking of me, and so I'm just really looking forward to seeing them and hanging out with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes it feel good. That's cute.
Yeah, man.
And adorable.
Yeah, how about you? What do you got? What do you got going on?
Well, at the time this comes out, I'll be back home. But for Christmas, I get to travel to the booming metropolis of Bakersfield, California.
Yeah.
And that's
Party
where I hang out
time.
with my brother and his wife and their 3 little girls. Or actually, they're not so little anymore. One actually just the other day turned 16, and she's the oldest, so they are growing up and becoming quite the little, almost adults. So
Wow, that's amazing.
good time. That's what I do
Yeah.
every year for Christmas, and I look forward to really just going down there. We lounge a lot, and we drink wine, and we eat good food, and we just hang out with family. So
Yeah, you can't beat that, man. Like
Nope.
that sounds like a dream.
yeah, right. And a couple nights we throw in some card games, which just is the icing on the cake.
There you go. Good stuff.
Anyway,
All right,
I
Sean-
hope. Oh, don't you dare!
Oh,
I don't really know what I was gonna say. Don't you dare talk in your microphone.
all right, go for it.
Sorry. Anyway, we hope that our listeners had an incredible Christmas season. Of course, we hope that New Year's is incredible tonight. If you got big plans tonight, because the day this comes out is New Year's Eve, we hope that you're safe and you're enjoying time with friends, family, loved ones. All right, Kyle, now you can go.
Well, all right, I was just gonna transition. No, that was very nice. I'm glad you said that.
You gotta think
and-
about our listeners, Kyle.
Jeez, I am glad you said that because I am always thinking of
Yourself.
me and the podcast. And, remember we had that discussion about how I struggle with the ego.
Oh,
Well-
I certainly remember. I've got that episode on repeat every other Tuesday.
So I was just gonna transition into what I was gonna ask you. What are we talking about today?
All right, fair enough. Well, today what we wanted to do is review 2018. I think end of the year, it's a very natural time to kind of reflect, evaluate, and perhaps adjust. Going into the new year, it's sort of a natural time for a lot of people to set new goals or new resolutions. And we wanted to take that time today to really just reflect first. And then coming up in our next episode, we'll talk about some goals that you and I have individually and you and I have together as podcast hosts. So today, it's all about reflecting on 2018.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a cliche episode, but it's important. Like, all right, fine. If we do this episode every year until the end of time, it'll still be appropriate. Like I like this kind of stuff.
And if
So-
we're only doing 26 episodes a year, then we've got 2 down. We got a review year or review episode
Yeah.
and a
Nice.
new goals episode. So we've only got 24 more ideas to come up with.
Well, Sean, what do you like that we did with the podcast this year? I think we'll start there. We'll start with the podcast, and then we'll go into our personal stuff. But a couple of things that I liked that we did differently is we did a couple of episodes where it was a double episode that we
Wait,
released on.
I'm totally going to cut you off right now.
Yeah,
And-
please
And
do.
we're not cutting this, okay? It stays right where it's at.
Yep,
because
you're hearing it all.
You literally just said, Sean, what do you like best? I want to hear about. Anyway, what I like best about it was X, Y, and Z. You didn't even give me a chance to
Oh my
answer
gosh.
your question.
All right. So okay.
So
it's
Kyle,
time for me to be
what
quiet
did
again.
you like best? And then we'll come back to me. What'd you like best, buddy?
All right. Well. All right. Composure. Compose yourself. I'm talking to myself. All right. Here we go. So. A couple of things that I liked this year were the episodes that we did 2 of. It's episode 50, and then there was an episode a couple episodes ago where we released 2 on the same day, which I feel like we put a lot of work into each episode, and to give 2 on one day was, that we really were giving ourselves to the community of listeners. So,
Yep.
but I did like that.
I think
I liked.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I,
go
I
ahead.
was just going to agree with you on episode 50, especially. That's one, that was only 7 or 8 episodes ago. But I feel like that's been one that's garnered a lot of feedback, a lot of input, a lot of comments from our listeners. And that was a lot of fun to just interview each other and talk out loud about stuff. And then 2, it was just neat to interact with our listeners in the way that we have. So I agree with you on that one. I think of all the episodes we did this year, that would definitely be top 3 for me.
Yeah, I think it was one that we were talking about doing for a while, right? And we're like, all right, let's just do this. And we're trying to figure out how to do it and all that stuff. But, we marked it on the calendar and we said, all right, episode 50, we're gonna tell our stories. It turned out to be us interviewing each other and worked out pretty good. But I loved it because it was, I think it really got to the heart of why we started this was to partly to get our thoughts down on, and share them with whoever wants to listen.
Sure.
So I really like that one.
Yep, I'm with you on that. If, maybe we can go back and forth or something. But another thing that comes to my mind for the podcast itself, go back a little more than a year, and Kyle and I talked about hanging out together for a couple days in Denver. We met up, and we basically sort of kind of called it our own Two Disabled Dudes podcast retreat, where we spent a couple days crammed up in a really cool but small Airbnb, and we just planned out what we're doing and where we're going and what's going on with the podcast. And I really believe that a lot of the things we put ink to paper for, or whatever the phrase would be, came to pass. We made some plans and we had some ideas and we worked hard to, or maybe not hard, but certainly intentionally
Right.
to bring that plan to fruition. So I'm certainly proud of the time that we spent in planning our year, and then B, our intentionality of actually executing what we're doing here.
Yeah, I agree. A couple of things were like we made a fat list of guests that we wanted to reach out to. And we executed that, and we got a lot of really great guests this year. The other one was the store, and I want to draw people's attention to that. We do have a store, and it has a couple of items on it. It has a hat and a shirt. And that was one of the things that we started this year that kind of came out of that Denver meeting that we put into action. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So shop all you want for a hat or a shirt. If you
Yeah,
have
maybe-
ideas for new stuff, let us know. We're not opposed to creating, I don't know, coffee cups or whatever it may be. We just don't know what people want. So tell us what you want.
Yeah, and I guess we should have mentioned the store before Christmas, but it's whatever.
Whatever.
No,
That's fine.
we're preparing for next Christmas, I
And
think.
everybody's birthday.
Yeah. So what else with the podcast? I mean, we will have more than 26 episodes. That was one of our goals.
Yep.
Was simply to produce an episode every other week. We did that with two weeks where we did double episodes.
So I think, real quick, let's talk about that for just a moment. Kyle and I, we talked about doing 26 episodes, not as a number that we wanted to reach, but more of a maximum. We found that in our first year, we had released something like 30 or something, didn't we? It was a little more than every other week.
Exactly.
And what we realized in doing so, it was a lot of work. And there were moments where we really kind of put the pressure on ourselves and our production team to pull it off. And what we committed to in Denver was that we were going to just limit ourselves to 26. If we had an incredible idea, we'll just wait 2 weeks to make it come out. But we just didn't want to tax ourselves to a degree of being frustrated and or annoyed with the podcast. We didn't want this to be a burden, of course, for us or for Jake or Matt. And so in saying this, I want to say big props to our production team. Jake does all the audio and he puts this together. And then, of course, Matt helps us with all of our language and writing our recaps and doing whatever he can to make us look pretty and sound good. So I will give props to them. We got a little more organized in our production over the years, so I'm proud of that. But we also were intentional about our production.
Yes, I agree. And I think we made some really important modifications to our production process in the past 2 or 3 months. Mm-hmm. And Sean, I think that might allow us to do more next year.
That's true.
I think one of the things that we want to know from you guys, our listeners, is if we decide to go every week instead of every other week this year, would you enjoy that? Would that be better? Would you listen more? Would you leave a review on iTunes if we do?
Yeah. Would you give us something in return if we worked harder for you? So it would ultimately be 52 episodes. So every Monday, a new one would come out. Is that something that we want to know? Listeners, is this something you would look forward to? Or would you drop out of the race with us because that's just too much? Either answer is fine. We're just looking for a little bit of feedback from you.
Sean, I think we talk about how much work it's going to be, but also I think it would be cool to talk about stuff that is happening right now. For example, this episode, we're recording it 2 weeks before it comes out.
Yeah.
And, I think that going to a once a week thing will allow us to be a little more current. Obviously not always when our schedules get crazy and we have to backlog a few, but anyway, that's, I think that's one of the perks of going a little more often.
Yeah, that's true. One thing I do want to say while we're on this topic of our production and maybe being at a point where we can do it weekly, one of the commitments Kyle and I made just probably 2 months ago was eliminating our mentality of, we can just cut stuff. And so for the last couple episodes, we have gone into the recording knowing, or with the commitment of no edits. So what you've been hearing the last couple episodes really are simple edits. We add the intro, front and end, and whatever else, music. But we're not cutting out bad words or stupid jokes or dumb comments, or we're doing better to make less mistakes so we don't have to edit so much. So what you're getting nowadays is very raw and authentic recordings, which of course helps us streamline the production process.
Yeah, and I think it takes a little pressure off of both of our shoulders because, like, we're just like, all right, whatever happens, let's just do it, and talk to each other and be present. I think, that's one thing that I struggle with, and we've talked about this, is like when there's a script and I'm like trying to follow something, I don't get present and like really listen and respond to the actual conversation because I'm so taken up with what's going on in the outline. So I think it's allowing me to like be here a little better. So that's cool.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and for myself as well. So, and of course, this helps makes Jake's job a lot easier.
Yes, absolutely. So, one thing related to this that I wanted to throw out there, and at the risk of like having everyone scrutinize, every word I say, and maybe the ums and ahs will be the only thing that people listen for. But I want to throw it out there. Like, one of the things that I want to work on, and I feel like I'm doing pretty good this episode, but is my clutch words on the podcast. And, this is something that, Sean, you and I have talked about, but I really want to throw it out there because I want to commit. I want everyone to hear me commit to not using all the time.
Or your now famous transitional phrase. Do you know what it is?
No, I don't.
I love it.
Oh my!
I love it.
Oh, that's the worst. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Which, of course, that has its place. I'm just kind of giving you our time. I'm not saying get rid of it, but I do believe you're quite famous now for I love that. Anyway, let's talk about something.
Don't get rid of it, but I wouldn't be disappointed if it went away.
Well, Kyle, that's a handful of things related to the Two Disabled Days podcast, which, of course, is what draws our listeners and you and I together in this space. What about personally? We've got a little bit of time left in this episode. Let's talk about some things throughout 2018 that you're proud of or that you feel like you accomplished as a goal for the year. What are some things throughout the year that excite you that you've done?
Well, the number, I wrote a few things down earlier today, and the number one thing on my list is ride ataxia. I think a lot of listeners know that I run a program of bike rides that raise funds for Friedreich's ataxia research through the Friedreich's Ataxia Research Alliance, where I'm on staff. And excuse me. One of the things that I am really proud of is that we raised over $1 million this year through the program for the third year in a row.
That's amazing.
And Yeah, partly I'm proud of it, and partly it gives us confidence to move forward and do it again next year. And that comment would not be complete without me thanking one person, Jamie Young. She does an amazing job of keeping everything on track, and everyone has fun at the rides because of Jamie. She takes care of so many details and keeps me on track. So, Jamie, if you're listening, thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely Jamie and, maybe even Felicia and a couple others
Yep.
really work hard to pull the rides off. And I wonder, you said everyone has fun. I wonder if Jamie would say the same thing. Like,
yeah.
I've been
I
to
don't
a
know.
couple rides, and more often than not, she's busy. She got a lot to worry
Yeah.
about. And I don't know if she's having fun. I mean,
Well,
I'm
that-
sure she is, but
That's a good question, and I need to maybe address that with her. You know what? Are you having fun?
I often wonder every ride I go to. Kyle, like I said, you run the program, and you're really the face of Ride Ataxia. But I often wonder, A, why, and B, do you even do anything for these rides? Like, Jamie really does a lot.
When people email me with questions, I forward it to Jim. That's my role. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
No, we work well together, and we have certain things that, like, we share certain things. Like, if I'll make a phone call to somebody, a contact that I've had for a long time or whatever, and I don't know. I hopefully we share the burden
Yeah.
of the whole program. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, I'm certainly proud of the fundraising for sure. That's
Yeah.
made a big impact on what's going on in the research world. In fact, one of the things that comes to mind, I'll just throw it out there to piggyback on the successful fundraising of Ride Ataxia, is really kind of twofold. First of all, last year we got to go and hang out in Dallas for a couple days with Riata. They helped us do a live recording and really just treated us like kings for a day and a half or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and we just had a great time hanging out with their team. But also, they just are hitting the ground running right now recently with an extension of the drug they have in the pipeline. So I just wanted to shout that out to that. I think that fundraising helps Riata do what they do. I think the connections of being able to hang out there and get to know people, of course, is helping move the needle forward. So, I'm thankful for that money because I know that it's having a direct impact on the advancements in research.
Yeah. I think Riata is a really, really good example, and they're amazing partners. But also, I don't think that's the only one.
No,
absolutely. One of the points is that this money. One of the reasons I love Ride Ataxia is because we are making it happen. It provides the opportunity for the community to actually move research forward. Like, it's our responsibility. We're the ones doing it, and I think that's an amazing thing. You get diagnosed with a rare disease, and you feel so helpless. Like, what? Like, there's nothing we can do. But then, you get involved with something like Ride Ataxia, and you realize that you are the one, that the community are the people that are really making research progress happen.
Yeah, and how many of those people, I've heard stories, and I know you've heard more than me, but you get diagnosed, and the whole family's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're not scientists or doctors or researchers. We don't really have an expertise in any of those areas. Let's just do a little fundraiser. And, they're thinking, oh, let's raise a couple grand. But before you know it, their entire community shows up.
Yeah.
And they just raised 20 or 30 grand. And they've had a massive impact. And how many of those stories have you heard over the years where people just even surprise themselves with the support of their loved ones? So I think that's huge and incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, the people around us are just waiting for us to allow them the opportunity to help. And I think that's what newly diagnosed people find out. They feel sorry for themselves. I mean, for good reason. We all have done that, right? And they don't want other people feeling sorry as well. And so they don't reach out. But once they do, they realize that people are just waiting for the opportunity to help. They really want to help. So yeah, it's amazing.
One thing for me. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, what about you?
One thing that I set out to do more this year was read, and I learned a long time ago that do more isn't good enough. It's not measurable, so you've got to put some numbers to the game. So I set out to read 12 books. I know that's not a lot, but one book a month. And I'm proud to say that by the time you're hearing this, I'll actually have 13 read.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Nice. How many more do you think that is than you read in 2017?
At least 10. You know, without the intention, I would have a good book, and it would take me a month and a half, couple of months to read it. You know, I do really great for a couple of weeks, and then I set it down, and then I don't pick it up for a couple more weeks. And I've always thought myself to be a decent reader. And then, of course, I hear stories of some people read a book a week. And I'm like, how do you do that? So I was just proud to even try 12. So maybe next year we'll try to up the ante. I haven't put a number to it yet.
Nice. I like it. What was your favorite book from this year?
I would have to say two, Compound Effect by Darren Hardy really challenged me to take action in my life and what's important to me. And then another one's called Platform, which actually is a book you gave me last year. And Platform is really just a handful of tips and tricks to help get your personal brand established, whether it's podcast related or Sean Baumstark or the blog or whatever it is I'm working on. It's really tangible steps to help establish who you want to be and what you want to do. So I really enjoyed that book too. In fact, I've gone back to it numerous times because it's so simple. It's a page and a half of probably 50 steps. So it's, it turned out to be a thick book, but every step is really simple and just kind of helps lay it out.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. So see, there it was again. Dang it.
Hey, you know what? That happens. What's another one for you?
So what? The biggest one, I think. Well, no. So I already said the biggest was Rat Ataxia, but the next one was that I found a publisher, an agent, a publisher, and the book will be released in February on February 26, 2019. So that actually was a stated goal of mine to really get it going in 2018. I mean, I have to be honest. I've been saying that for years now. I want to get this book done, but I did say it for 2018. And I'm glad I'm not saying it for 2019. So that's really exciting. For those of you who haven't heard about it, it's a memoir based on a bike ride I did with my parents in 2007. And we talk about, rare disease diagnosis, the relationship between the patient and the scientist, outlook on the future for us personally, and most of all, the virtues of a strong rare disease community. And so I'm really excited to share that book with the world on February 26th.
Yeah, I bet there's going to be so much pride in that. I'm proud of you, and I can't wait for it to come out. In fact, I haven't done it yet, but did I see a tweet or something not too long ago about being able to pre-order?
Yeah, it's available for pre-order. All the links, if you go to kyleabryant.com, all the links are right there on the front page. So, yeah, have you pre-ordered yours, Sean?
No.
Uh,
I don't read books anymore. So 2018 was the only year I was gonna read books. So sorry, buddy, you're too late.
oh, man.
No,
Bummer.
it'll definitely be on my list for 2019. I'm gonna pick it apart.
Yeah, I know. Well, and it's kind of nerve-wracking because
I bet.
you put all this time into it, and you're like, are people even gonna like this? Like, or even more, like, is that what I was really trying to say? And at
Sure.
some point, it's just like, all right, you gotta let it go. Just let it go out there and see what happens. So
I don't know who said it. I'm sure it was somebody famous, but I heard John Maxwell telling a story not so long ago on a podcast. He had, in quoting somebody else, basically this individual said, if we all wait for something to be perfect before we launch it, stuff
Yeah.
will never happen.
oh my gosh.
And
I so
again,
agree.
I apologize, I can't give the correct credit. But when you think about it, if we wait for the perfect car, we wouldn't have cars. If we wait for the perfect house, we wouldn't have houses. So much of what we've done over the years, we as in mankind, so much of what we've done and what we have today is because we learned from something else that was done or had been made in the past. So I'm proud of you for just throwing it out there, and hopefully this means, if it sucks, which I'm pretty sure it won't, but if your book sucks, then you know what to do better for book 2, right?
Yep, I agree. Hey, and on your note, I heard someone say one time, done is the new perfect. And
Ooh,
I love
that's
that. Doesn't that just kind of sum it up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just get it done and see what happens. I like that.
Hey, so Sean, tell me about determinants for this year. I know you guys, made an attempt and you did a fundraising campaign and all that stuff. Like, just recap that for us.
Yeah, there was some really fun and exciting growth for Determinants. Most of you probably know it's a nonprofit that I started several years ago in the face of my diagnosis. But this year, we not only added a couple of board members to the team, but then we also took on one of our biggest campaigns or our activities, which was climbing the California 14s. We set out to do this over the next few years. And this year, we attempted our first climb, which was White Mountain. That's one of those 14ers. And we invited Riley Stevens, who we had his mom on the podcast about a year ago. And we just involved, I think there were 8 of us that climbed. And although we didn't reach the top, we were wildly successful in building this campaign and getting our feet wet and figuring out what we need to do this coming year to make it to the top of 2 or 3 of those peaks. Like you said, we raised some money. In fact, even though it's not $1 million, we had our most successful fundraising year this year. So yeah, it's just exciting to see things happening in that area, even though it's not a full-time job for anybody, or it's definitely not changing the world yet. There's certainly progress, and every step of it is fun. So I'm enjoying that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and Sean, you don't say you say it's not changing the world, but I know you've encouraged, like, this effort has already encouraged so many people just with the way that you guys are approaching it and going after it and just setting the goal out there. I mean, and if you change the world for one person or like change their attitude like that, then you're changing the world, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
good point.
Does that make
Yep,
sense?
that's
Yeah.
true.
So
What's that? There's that little phrase or saying, you pick up a seashell and throw it in the ocean. You're not really changing the world, but for that seashell. You know, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
For that seashell, you've changed their world. Well, I don't know how it goes.
Something like that. Yeah, no, I think that gets at it for sure. Oh, nice.
You know what? There is one more thing I know we should probably wrap up. Another goal that Kyle and I have is to keep these episodes to 30 to 40 minutes to make listening a little more convenient for you. But speaking of, you know, I mentioned Riley. Another highlight for this year, whether it was podcast related or personal, Kyle, I think you would agree. We made so many new connections this year, and we met so many new friends. Whether we interviewed them on the podcast or, you know, we met them while traveling or hanging out in Australia or whatever it may have been or wherever it may have been. One of the things I'm most grateful for in the arena of being able to do what we do, I love meeting people. In fact, you know, Riley and his family are a couple of those folks. I'll mention one of our newest connections. Actually, Kyle and I were just introduced via text to a guy named Mike Kelly. I don't know anything about Mike Kelly, but he knows Sam Bridgman. And Mike Kelly has FA. So I don't care who he is. I love that I know him now, or at least have his phone number. And there's people like that all over the world that is just so much fun to be able to share a piece of life with. So one of the things I'm most grateful for in 2018 was being able to travel and meet and connect with so many new friends.
I agree with that 100%. You said it really well, and I hope that you'll allow me to tag on to that statement.
Please do. Like, tag on like you're going to say something, or you're just going to write on that statement?
Oh, no. I meant like right on it. Like, okay. I'm not going to say anything right now, but I wanted to take a little credit for what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
all right,
yes,
thanks.
Kyle and I both believe this to be 100% true. So I guess with that, what are you proud of? You know, it's that time of year, it's time to reflect. Maybe you already have, maybe you haven't yet. Hopefully this episode inspires you to do so if you haven't. But if you have, or if you are now, maybe shoot us an email or find us on Twitter or Instagram or wherever your favorite platform is. We're on all of them individually and together as a podcast. Tell us what you're proud of. We'd love to get your feedback. And of course, don't forget, we want to know if we were to go to weekly episodes, would you enjoy that or would that be a burden? And what else? Was there something else we asked for? Oh, pre-order Kyle's book.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. All right, good stuff. Well, thanks so much, Sean. And I guess we will see everyone in 2019.
You know it. Happy New Year, folks. Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast.
Find us online at twodisableddudes.com and please subscribe on the iTunes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Special thanks to our production team, Jake Tompkins and Matt LaFleur.
Until next time, keep living with urgency.